Hey there everyone, this is Jay from the T team, that's Test team of Hivik Solutions. Asus made quite a splash by launching three new phones this month, the Zenfone 4, the Zenfone 5 and the Zenfone 6. Each of the three has its niche market, and the Zenfone 4 is aimed squarely at capturing the bottom end of the smartphone market. Asus has its sights on the first-time Android buyers who represent a massive opportunity for smartphone vendors. There are two versions of the Zenfone 4. The A400CG model, which we have in review today, has a 4-inch screen and a 5-megapixel camera, whereas the A450CG, which hasn't been launched yet, will have a 4.5-inch screen and an 8-megapixel camera. Most other specifications are the same. The Zenfone 4 is a pretty small device by today's standards, which means it's very easy to hold and use. The bulging back in fact makes it more comfortable in the hand. Our test unit came with a white rear panel, though blue, black and red are also available. It's a high quality finish and has an Asus branding logo beneath the camera lens. There are prominent grey Intel inside and Zenfone logos on the bottom rear. There are three capacitive buttons below the screen and a camera and a speaker at the top. The power and volume buttons are on the right edge, while the micro USB port is on the left and the headset socket is on the top. There are two SIM card slots on the left edge beneath the removable covers, and the micro SD card slot is to the left of the camera lens. Right now, taking a look at the software and specifications. With reduced prices comes reduced specifications. The screen is a 4-inch 480 by 800 pixel panel, which really isn't very bright. The viewing angles are pretty much okay considering the price tag. The processor is a relatively low-end Intel Atom Z2520, which is a dual-core 1.2 GHz model with hyper-threading and integrated power VR graphics. The 1 GB of RAM and 8 GB of internal storage space are both on the higher side for phones in this price range, and will help keep things fresh and snappy for a while. Taking a look at the Android version. Asus ships the Zenfone 4 with Android 4.3 Jelly Bean, and if we go with the rumors, then the Zenfone 4 won't be getting a KitKat update. Let's take a look at the UI. There's quite a heavy skin on the phone called the Zen UI. For the most part, we like Asus work. The lock screen is clean and simple with all the required functionalities. A big clock, weather information, notification, alarm time, and shortcuts to the phone, messaging, and camera applications. You can have up to 9 home screens. The notification shade and quick setting panels are customized. They are both crisp and clear, which is all the more necessary on the Zenfone's 4 low-resolution screen. You'll also see visual tricks in the settings, messaging, music, email, and other applications. Personally, I wasn't too happy with the default Asus keyboard. The layout is a bit odd with keys stacked perfectly in a grid rather than the more natural layout with each row offset. But there's no shortage of replacement in the Play Store. Also, the decision to stick with the capacitive buttons means you won't accidentally hit them while typing. There are a few interesting applications preloaded in the phone. One of them is a splendid app that lets you tweak screen parameters such as color temperature and saturation. You can tweak each of the options by a few steps, but avoid the extremes, unless you want a monochrome screen, which is totally possible. Other preloaded applications are Omelette Chat, What's Next, Mirror, Party Link, to name a few. Taking a look at the music application. Zenfone 4 has its customized music application, though they also provide the Google Music application. The UI of the application is pretty decent. Let's play a song to check the audio quality. The audio quality is pretty good too. The music is loud but doesn't distort. The phone has a speaker on the rear side near the camera lens. Overall, the music plays above par to say the least. Now let's test the camera application for the photoholics. Asus has packed quite a few filters and effects into the camera application. There are 12 modes to play with, including time rewind, night, selfie, miniature, smart remove, all smiles, and GIF animation. A time-lapse mode is available when recording the video. This works to varying degrees, but it takes quite a while to process some effects such as fake depth of field. There are also assorted filters which are applied before taking the shots, such as ISO, white balance, exposure value, optimization, and a few more. It's a pretty broad range of capabilities for such an inexpensive device. Image measures only 2560 by 1440 by default, but you can choose the larger 2560 by 1920 as I've done. Despite the low resolution, our test photos came out surprisingly sharp and clear. Let's take a look. Other phones in this price range have fixed focus lenses, but the Zenfone 4 has a full autofocus and you can tap anywhere on the screen to change the focus and metering. Close-up shots are far better than the landscapes, but even so, the amount of details in shots is remarkable. Even in low light, quality isn't bad at all. There's no flash, but we have seen far worse photos from phones which are twice as expensive or more. Even the front camera does an admirable job. Another area in which budget phones typically don't do well at all. Let's take a look at the image taken from the front camera. Video was also much better than we had expected. Full HD 1920 by 1080 clips look surprisingly good. They are definitely not crystal clear, but details in things such as rustling leaves and curtains flapping in the wind is very good. These are videos that can be shown off and shared anywhere. Now, the most important part, the performance. The Zenfone 4 might be cheap, but it's no slouch when it comes to performance. It managed to edge out the more expensive Moto E and Sony Xperia E1 in pretty much every test. The score of 15,096 in Antutu was significantly better than 12,546 and 13,200 points achieved by the Moto E and Xperia E1 respectively. Similarly, the quadrant scores for all the three phones were 6,851, 5,234 and 5,109 respectively. Graphics scores were also higher. We recorded 16.4 FPS in GFX Bench as opposed to 10.7 and 12.8 for the Moto E and Xperia E1 respectively. As far as the subjective usage goes, we did find ourselves waiting for the applications to load, but at least the Zen UI transitions are quick and fluid. Basic games such as Temple Run were good enough. We wouldn't try anything heavier than that. Battery life was also good. This should just about get you through a full day of calls, messages, and a little bit of 3G web usage. We had no complaints about the call quality either, but were surprised to see an integrated option to record calls right in the phone application. The built-in speaker is decently loud. The sound is thin, but it can get pretty loud and at least it doesn't distort. It came as a pleasant surprise that even our heaviest 1080p video sample played flawlessly on the Zenfone 4. The final verdict. It seems that Asus is really onto something here. The bottom line is, the Zenfone 4 is a fantastically capable device considering its price. A lot of that has to do with the choice of an Intel processor. The Zenfone 4's screen is pretty average, but nearly everything else is outstanding. We are particularly impressed with the device's camera capabilities. Full HD video recording is pretty neat, and it's nice to have a front camera, more so one that is not terrible. We are looking forward to the A400CG revision, which has a totally different screen, and have high hopes that Asus will improve on this phone's one weakness, that's the screen. It isn't hard at all to recommend Zenfone 4 above Moto E and Xperia E1 and other competitors in this range. Hope you guys enjoyed the review. If so, please subscribe and like the video. And if you have any queries, feel free to comment. I will address your queries as soon as possible. This is Jay signing off. Till next time, keep rocking.